this is the side of the property which is bordering that block of flats. So she's chopped down this row of trees here. She's also chopped down all of these trees and all the hedges as well. And on my side of the house, she's chopped down this tree here, which is a really large tree, and these two trees here are actually on my land as well. So she chopped them down without my permission. And this is what it looks like now. So it's totally bare, and she's paved over the entire area behind this boundary fence at the front. So she's also chopped down all those pine trees which were here. And on the border of my house, she's chopped down those two pine trees and a large tree behind there as well. So she plans to put like a row of bins here, so I think it'd be 27 or 36 bins here. Then in addition to that, at the front, she's going to take this boundary fence down and take a drop curb right down to the street. And she'll put parking spaces for 6 cars here, an additional vehicle there, and she'll knock down this garage, have a 2-story extension, which will be here. So on this side as well, she's going to extend it here like that, have a 2-story extension. So anyway, on to the presentation. So if you haven't had a chance to go on the website and to look at the detailed plans, this is what she proposes to do. This will be the ground floor of the property in the exterior. So at the front, you can see. So at the front, you can see why she's cut down those trees, and this was before she obtained permission from the council to cut down the trees, which were protected as well. So she's going to put 6 car parking spaces here, and she's going to put like a whole row of bins right at the front of the property here. There's going to be a dropped curb at the front, and she's going to knock down the garage, which is here, and she's going to extend it all the way to the back, and she'll extend it up to the 2nd floor. So I think it's quite small here, but the general layout of the building is that I think the flat's going to be quite small and cramped, so it's not even going to provide comfortable accommodation for the people going to be living there. And she's also put all of these bicycle racks at the back, 18 bicycle racks, but that's totally unnecessary. I mean, how many people will cycle to work or whatever? So the next diagram. So this is what she's going to do. She's going to this.
Come please. I'm glad you're coming.
So all of this will be a new extension. So she's going to take what's been mainly a 2-story building. She's going to convert into.
This is the left-hand side, isn't it?
This will be the side facing our house.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she's going to build a 2nd story here, and she's also going to extend it at the back as well. So all of this stuff which has been shaded dark grey is all going to be extended at the back.
There will be 3 stories.
So it would be 3 stories. So I think there's like 15 or 18 bedroom property, but she's only provided car parking spaces for 8 vehicles. So we want to know, I mean, they can start parking on Oak Road, Whitney Close, Kennedy Close, maybe Royston Grove and Royston Park Road to have visitors as well. So what's the plan of action we want to do? So mainly 3 things we're going to do is write to the council individually. So I've dropped, I think, letters through all of your post boxes, and the point of contact is Beverly Kuchar, who's the Harrow Head Planning. We want to submit also via the council's website, so I'm not sure if anyone's tried it on the portal, but you can do that's the web address, and you could submit it there. And also to email each of our Conservative ward councillors, so it's Susan Hall, John Hinckley, and Jean Lammerman. So Susan Hall, we're going to meet in the next few days as well, and she will give us extra advice and support as she can. And we're going to also, I've got a letter, so we'll ask you to sign as a petition listing all the points from the council and why she doesn't, her proposed application is in conflict with that. And so we've asked you to sign that, which we'll also submit all together. And does anybody else have any ideas in which ways we can propose to council at the moment?
So could I just say, before we get into particular points, would it be helpful, John, if you gave us an overall view from your past experience of how one should approach comments to planning applications like this?
Okay, let me say a few words, because we've been through a few of these. None of us are experts, and we all have emotion, I think, playing into this because it's so personal. The last one I got involved in was Glencara on the corner, where there was an application for a block of flats there, which was turned down, and it's still likely to happen again. So we wait to see what's happening on that site. And before that, there's been some attempts at flats in Royster Park Road, which I've been involved in, and I've certainly been involved with other appeals by the Hatch End Association to address some of the problems in the area. The point has already been made that emotion doesn't count here. All the things that might impact you personally are not terribly relevant. And the most successful responses are the difficult responses. And that is to address it in an almost legalistic manner based on the Harrow Development Plan and demonstrate it doesn't meet the criteria specified in the Harrow Development Plan. Now that's much more easily said than done, because none of us are experts in the Harrow Development Plan, and it takes a lot of effort to go and read it, work through it. And to be honest, the best response I saw was from a property developer in Royston Park Road, who used his solicitors to work Orchard Cohn Gamekeeper and take the Harrow Development Plan and take it point by point as to why Glencara did not meet the criteria. So it took professional assistance, which actually was free in that case, to turn the decision. Now, the other thing I think you've got to think about is nursing homes are probably a slightly problematic area for their owners. They're not making money in most cases because local councils aren't paying enough fees for the people who are there, which means their business case is on a knife edge anyway. Now, whether she bought it to develop it as flats or not, it's thinking about the future of what that building would be and whether it could remain as a nursing home and what the other options are. Now, again, it starts to become soft criteria at that point, but something's obviously got to happen to the site, and sometimes it's best thinking about what are the best options for the site rather than resisting it without a plan as to where it could end up. So, for instance, if they turned around and said they wanted to demolish all those buildings, put 3 detached houses, I'm not sure what the reaction would be, but it would probably be better than the current situation. And so it's getting the balance right that suits the residents and the area and the developer. And I think often developers aren't terribly interested in any sort of discussion along those lines. So all I can say is individual letters count. Individual meaning tailored letters that go in, making people's own points from their own perspective and not putting a standardised response using the same paragraphs every time. Points which reflect on what the council has said. I mean, the point has been raised that there were going to be no flats north of Royston Grove. Of course, that was always soft. It was never put in writing as far as we know. And there's already been at least one example of flats being built north of that line. So it's a pretty soft criteria. But at the same time, making the point that this is a residential area of similar housing. And the point I've always made in the past is often Royston Park Estate has appeared on the front of the Harrow brochures as being part of the ideal green, pleasant place to live in. So it's an example of what's good about Harrow, although it's got no conservation status because it's a mixed set of houses with a mixed background, and therefore there's no criteria you can put on it to prevent development because of the state of the area as it is now. So I think it's worth running through the points that people want to make, try and get the best out of those points, and then take away that and put your own letter together. And if anyone has got time and energy to be able to think of the Harrow Development Plan and where it might break those criteria, I wish you well, because that will be the most important points we can make of all.